Hey guys, happy Halloween. I've got my little Halloween cat ears on here. It's Halloween weekend, and tonight I'm going to make crab cakes. Crab cakes are one of my favorite foods to eat of all time. I absolutely love them, and because I love them so much, I put a lot of time and effort into making this recipe perfect. It took me actually years to really figure out exactly what the perfect crab cake is, and figure out a few tricks. My dad actually calls my crab cakes the best crab cakes he's ever had. Not bragging or anything, but it took me a long time to really figure out the right formula. One thing I really feel like helps my crab cakes stand apart is by using fresh breadcrumbs on the inside of the crab cake. Fresh, meaning I take 2 pieces of bread, cut the crusts off, and put them in the food processor and pulse them myself. And then another secret is to use panko on the outside. So you have that crispy, crunchy crust on the outside, and the inside is really soft and crabby and creamy, and there's hardly any filler. So let's get started. What I've already done is saute 1/2 of an onion and 2 garlic cloves in 1 tablespoon of oil on the stove. So they're translucent and they have a little bit of color. And I let them cool off. So we're gonna throw maybe half of that in right now. And what I like to do is throw half of it in, see where I am. Like, there's just a little bit left and we'll probably use it, but I just wanna see where I am because, like I said before, I really don't like a ton of filler in my crab cakes. So we don't wanna break up our jumbo lump crab meat. So let's get all of our other ingredients in first and kind of mix those up. So I have some Dijon mustard here, and I'm almost out actually. We don't need that much, so that's good. Come on. All right, I think we got that. Let me wipe my hand off. I got a little mustard on my hand. So we've got enough of that just in time. Looks like I'm gonna have to buy another bottle. Okay, so we need some mayo as well. I don't cook with a lot of mayo, but crab cakes really do need it. So we've got a little bit of mayo. So we've got our onions, garlic, mustard, and mayo. And we want some lemon zest to brighten this up. And we're going to put a little bit of lemon juice in too. But you know I never waste the zest. It's really good for you and it has so much flavor and provides freshness and kind of a different kind of lemony flavor, if that makes sense. It's more intense than the juice. Let me grab my knife and we'll put just a little bit of lemon juice in here, and I'll use the other half for my water. Okay, so we've got some lemon juice in there. We need some Worcestershire. Gotta have Worcestershire in your crab cakes. I love Worcestershire. And let's go with some Old Bay seasoning. This is very, very classic with crab cakes. I love Old Bay. Let's give that a stir. Now we're gonna need some breadcrumbs and some egg now. So let's get our breadcrumbs going. I have my food processor and I have my bread over here. You can use any kind of, this is actually sourdough, but it won't make a difference. I'll get 2 pieces of bread, white bread. Just make sure it's white bread. And this is plain old sandwich bread. I'm gonna cut the crusts off and then just pulse it. Give it a little help and cut it into 8 pieces without the crust. And here's my top. And let's get this all pulsed up. Whoopsie daisy. Guess what? I forgot to plug it in. All right, give me 1 second, I'll plug it in and I'll be right back. Okay, we're all plugged in. Let me pulse this up. It'll only take a second. We want really fine, fresh breadcrumbs, and we won't use all of them. Okay, so Let's get that out. Get the blade out. And we'll get rid of these crusts and make some room on our cutting board. And here's my bowl. So there's hardly anything in this bowl. It's just what we already put in. And we're not going to put the breadcrumbs in until we get the crab in to kind of see where we're at. We're only gonna put in as much as we need. So let's get that going. And we're also going to need a little bowl of our panko breadcrumbs. So I've got my bowl here. Let's put our panko breadcrumbs in. And let's get our beautiful crab in. Let's look and see what it looks like. I love lump crab meat, and like I said, I love crab cakes. I love the texture, I love the flavor, I love everything about them. And I want to show you kind of what it looks like before I even put it in the bowl. It's just, they're big, nice chunks, big meaty chunks. And I'm just gonna run my fingers through it just to make sure there's no shell in it. And there's no shell. We also need to put an egg in, and I'll just beat my egg inside the crab container. So we need 1 egg. This will help bind it. The breadcrumbs and the egg are really the binder for the whole thing. So we've got our egg in there. Clear up everything. Okay, this looks really nice. Now before we even mix it any further, I just want to get some salt and pepper in there. We really want to season it up a little bit, even though the Old Bay is in there, and the Old Bay does have salt. So just be mindful of that. You just want a little sprinkling. And where's my pepper mill? Let's get a little pepper in here. And you know how I love my pepper. So we've got our pepper. Hello, Sky, my little puppy, my little husky puppy. And we're gonna put some chives in. And the reason I put chives in is because, let's start this way and we'll cut the ends off. The reason I put chives in is because I absolutely love seeing those green specks. We already have onion in there, so it's not like I'm necessarily doing it for oniony flavor. I just really like the green specks in there. I think that they look so, so pretty. And we're gonna cut them nice and small. And we don't need too many. That's maybe 2 tablespoons. Pop those in there. And remember, we don't want to stir too much now that the crab is in there, because we don't want to break up the crab. We really want those big chunks of crab in our crab cakes. So now we're going to add our fresh breadcrumbs, and you can see how nice, it's just bread. It's bread that's not toasted. They're super duper soft. So they kind of disappear, even though they do their job as a binder, they kind of disappear in the crab cake. And we only want to add as much as we need. And you know when you have as much as you need, when you can make like a crab cake in your hand, and it will still feel like it's falling apart before you put it in the panko. It'll still feel loose and wet, but it won't, it'll be clinging together a little bit. I'll show you what the texture and the consistency is when I get them all together. Okay, so that's probably 1 piece of bread right now. And I'm stirring it very gently. I'm almost folding it instead of stirring it. And when we put it in the panko will actually help bind it as well. I will show you the whole process. It's so fun cooking. I think we are good. All right, so let me show you what this actually looks like. We've got our panko here. Let me make some room on my board. I love having a sink right here because then I just brush everything off into the sink. Let me move my chives. We don't need you anymore, even though you were very pretty in our crab cakes. Okay, so we're gonna get about 4 crab cakes out of this. And what I like to do is kind of when it's at the bottom of the bowl, I really like to, in my mind, just picture what 4 equal portions look like. All right, it's about a palm size really. And you can see, I hope you can see that, how wet it still really is. You know, you can't put this on a pan by itself. It will fall apart, completely fall apart on you. So now we'll put it in our panko. Perfect. And it's feeling very wet. You're gonna be like, what is she talking about? But I promise you, we put them in the refrigerator for about 15 minutes and that really firms them up a little bit. And then if you wanna just grab some more, the panko is only on the outside, so don't think of yourself as putting, don't think of it as putting filler in your crab cake because you're not. You're really not. It's only on the outside. And the panko will start to feel wet too. This is how it's supposed to feel. I promise you. I make these all the time. And remember, you don't want to make them too big because then they take a longer time to cook and they don't cook evenly enough. Just when you have this amount, when we use these measurements and this amount of ingredients, you're gonna get 4. Think of it as 4. Really try to get 4 out of it. Perfect. After I form them all, I'm going to put them on a plate and put them in the fridge for about 15 minutes so that they can firm up and not fall apart in our pan when we're cooking them. And I will be right back and I'll show you what they look like when I take them out of the fridge, and then I'll take you over to the stove and show you how I cook them. Hi guys, so I took my crab cakes out of the refrigerator and they're nice and firm and they're ready to go into the hot pan, my hot cast iron skillet here. They were in the refrigerator for 15 minutes. And I'm gonna bring you down so you can see the cast iron skillet. We're also gonna fry some capers up. I love frying capers to put with my crab cakes. Okay, so I have my crab cakes here. Let's put some clarified butter in. Clarified butter is great to cook with when you want to fry something up and get a nice crisp edge and kind of a slight buttery flavor, but you don't want to use butter because you don't want the milk solids burning. Clarified butter has no milk solids in it, so it can cook at a higher temperature. And then we're gonna put in some olive oil. And let's get our crab cakes in. They're nice and all firmed up. I'm gonna use my hands actually. See? We'll get those in there. Press them down a little bit so you can hear that sizzle. We want them nice and crispy. This pan is super duper hot. It might even be a little too hot. I think I'm gonna turn, oops, we can't forget you. I think I'm gonna turn it down just a tad. Okay, that's perfect. All right, so I'm gonna let these sizzle up and cook for about 4 minutes on each side, but I'll time it and I'll let you know exactly how long it took, and I'll be right back. Hey guys, so I am going to fry up our capers. I poured my capers onto a paper towel to get them nice and dried off because we're going to fry them in hot oil, and when capers they come in a jar with brine and they're wet, and you don't want to pour that directly into your oil or you'll end up with a giant splattery, hot, dangerous mess. So I'm gonna get my capers in here and fry those up. My olive oil is nice and shimmery. It's shimmering. You turn down the heat just a tad, some medium heat, and those will take little to no time. Okay, and let me see, can you see everything? Okay, so here are our crab cakes. It's been 4 minutes, and you know what, I'm gonna let them cook maybe 1 more minute. This one's ready to flip. Nice and golden brown. Let's check this one. Hello, baby. Stay with me. Nice and golden brown. That clarified butter, oh my gosh, it really, I love cooking with clarified butter. It really gives that a golden brown crust that has flavor and is so delicious. All right. So we've got our crab cakes there, they're good. Our capers will be done like any second. It's not going to take long at all for our capers. I'll get like a nice little slotted spoon. I love putting fried capers on my crab cakes because they add so much of a briny, salty flavor, and that briny, salty flavor really goes well with seafood. And a lot of times, you know, crab cakes always come with some sort of tartar sauce or some sort of something, and I usually don't serve mine with anything. I really don't think that they need it. But you can, on my website, I will absolutely leave, and actually down below of this video, I will leave a recipe for something that you can make if you do like some kind of sauce with your crab cakes. All right, so our capers are very crispy and they're ready to take out. That took what, maybe 1 to 2 minutes? And I'll show you what they look like. And we're just going to put them on a paper towel lined plate so they can drain. We'll turn the heat off and get those on here. They're so yummy. I love these fried capers. Craig loves them too with his crab cakes. And so does my dad. Okay, so we'll set those aside to wait for us. So these cooked exactly 4 minutes on one side, and they'll probably take 4 minutes on the other side. Let me just see if they're done. Yep, they're done. Golden brown on all sides. Let me get our platter and get these guys out. Yummy. Crab cakes are one of my favorite things to eat of all time. Okay. So this is what they look like now, but I'm gonna zhuzh them up and make them more presentable, if you will. And I'll see you at the counter. Okay, so you saw me just plop these on my counter. I mean, not on my counter, on my plate. And we don't wanna do that. We want them to look nice. So we're going to clean up our plate. I always do this. And we're gonna set them in a nice little row. Presentation is pretty important. And you know, I'm a home cook. I don't have, I'm not intending to make my plate look like it just came from a, you know, 5-star restaurant. I just want it to look presentable and nice and neat, not like it was thrown together. So we have our beautiful crab cakes in a nice little row. I love, lemon just goes well with seafood, and plus, you know me, I love those yellow little bits on top. I think it's really pretty. And it smells good when it hits the heat, the heat from the crab cakes. And then we're going to put our fried capers right over top. And the fried capers are salty and briny, and they really add a nice texture. And like I said, a little dollop of some kind of, I actually usually make this with like a lemony mayo, but Craig and I don't really eat it very much. If I was serving this to guests, I would certainly make that with the lemony mayo, but we like it just like this, honestly. Okay, now I want to put some chives on there, some bright green chives. And I have them right over here. And remember, there are chives in the crab cakes, so this is this is like perfect. It's only natural to put chives on the dish. Just a few. We just need a little sprinkling just to give it some color contrast. Okay, let's bring our plate back up. And we're going to chop this. Hey guys, sorry about that. My storage was full on my phone, so I wasn't recording for part of the time, part of my video, and I didn't even realize it. But because we didn't know that it wasn't recording, we ate one of the crab cakes already. So I had to transfer my beautiful crab cakes from 4 to 3 to this smaller platter. And I have my lemon, I cleaned up my plate, so there's no drippings on my plate. We were cleaning up our plate before. And I put some chopped chives on top, fresh chopped chives. I put my fried capers over top, and I put a couple of lemon wedges because I really like lemon on my crab cakes. Especially since we're not serving it with any kind of sauce or creamy sauce. So I will take a picture of this and then I'll put it at the end of this video, and I will also put a picture of it on my website, including the recipe, the written recipe, and I'll also include a recipe for a creamy tartar saucy type of sauce that you can make if that's what you prefer with your crab cakes.